Good, everyone? Okay. Good afternoon. As you all know, Friday afternoon, our region faced a devastating tornado that began in Clayton and carved its way through Richmond Heights and University City, and then made a path through the city of St. Louis. The storm left behind significant damage to homes and businesses and schools. Trees were downed, and the damage was significant, and the cleanup is ongoing. But from the very beginning, our focus has been on the people, supporting our neighbors, supporting our friends, and our communities that were hit the hardest. Immediately after the storm, crew members from our region of Transportation and Public Works and our Parks and Recreation Department were deployed. These teams worked alongside of our municipal partners in Clayton and Richmond Heights and in University City. They worked to clear roads from downed trees so our first responders could have a pathway through the debris. And I personally want to thank all of our first responders, our crews, our volunteers, everyone who's worked beside them in our communities. Their help was critical, not just to restore mobility, but then also to make sure that our emergency medical services had a path and could reach our residents who needed help in time. Time matters in disasters, and our response was swift. We worked to protect lives. We worked to get several traffic signals back working again. I know Ameren is busy trying to restore power. One thing I want to mention is that we want to be sure and make sure that you treat a dark signal as a four-way stop. Our Director of Public Works is here, Stephanie Leon Streeter, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what they have done in response to restoring the signals and cleaning up the debris. Stephanie?
Thank you, Dr. Page. I too echo that I thank all the first responders, the people that provide care and service to those that have been affected by storms, to our residents helping each other, and of course our teams out there helping the community as well. Our districts have been working since Friday clearing debris, first getting the debris off the roadway to make those roadways passable, and we continue to work to clear the debris from the right-of-way and expect in our Mid-County area and our South County area that we will be doing that through Thursday. For those that are bringing private property debris or want to bring it to the right-of-way, please work with your trash hauler to address that, that material, because we do have our hands full. Thus far, we have moved about 50 tons of debris, which, to put it in perspective for most people, that's about 25 elephants, 2,000 pounds per elephant. So that's quite a bit of material that we've had to deal with. Big Bend Boulevard from Wydown to Clayton Road is still closed due to downed power lines. We have crews on standby to open the road when we know that the power has been restored and the lines have been removed. If that happens overnight, we will make sure crews are out so that the road is open before the morning rush. We do have 12 dark signals, and those are a result of lack of power. That spans across Clayton Road, Delmar, Big Bend, Hanley, Forest Park Parkway, and Forsyth. And my overall message to everyone as they're still working to reestablish themselves after the storm is to watch what you're doing, because downed lines are sometimes hard to see. And if power is restored to some that don't have power, you could hurt yourself. And new storms that we're expecting could develop. If there's loose branches or trees that are unstable, you again have an opportunity to have those fall on you or fall on your car or fall on your house, so please be careful. We will continue to work through the days to come to try to make our communities free of debris as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Our county parks took a direct hit from the storms as well. Trees were downed. Structures were damaged. In addition to working to repair the damage in our county parks, our park crews were made available to assist in University City and Clayton and Richmond Heights And here with us today is our Parks Director, Brian Schaefer, who'll tell you a little bit about what they've been doing. Brian.
Good afternoon. Parks crews are out this weekend assessing damage. Our biggest damage was at Tillis Park, where we had about 10 mature trees that fell through the park. The biggest problem there was it took down some power lines, and that prevented us from opening the park until Sunday because we couldn't get into the trees until the power lines were taken care of. At Jefferson Barracks Park, we lost 6 to 8 mature trees. We took care of those. We saw some trees down at Sylvan Springs, Boar Park, and Cliff Cave. After we were able to get some of the parks secured, we did, like as Dr. Page said, were able to commit some crews to helping over in Clayton. We took care of removing some trees along with transportation and public works in the DeMund Place neighborhood and throughout Clayton on Saturday.
So when we were preparing for this storm and responding to this storm, we activated our Emergency Operations Center. So in addition to providing services in the community to keep our roads open and to respond to the tornado through the emergency response and coordinated emergency response in St. Louis County, we've also been assisting our municipalities and providing assistance to them when they ask us for help, and coordinating with the City of St. Louis and providing services there as well. Here with us today is Michelle Ryan, who is the Director of Emergency Operations in St. Louis County, to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing, but also to tell you what to expect, because I'm sure if you've heard, we have another storm on the horizon. We have another storm coming tonight that will bring all kinds of the usual problems of high winds and possible tornadoes. And Michelle will tell us a little bit about what to expect there as well. Michelle.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. So as Dr. Page said, on Friday, after we were able to do just a brief, quick assessment with our municipalities and discovered where the primary damage was, I did send personnel to Clayton. They requested bodies from my office. And I would also like to say they make it sound very easy, but Transportation, Public Works, and the Parks Department responded to every single request I made on behalf of the municipalities over the weekend. And it didn't matter what time it was, so it's very much appreciated. I also sent folks to St. Louis City. As you know, they obviously got the worst of this. They have now returned. My hope is that they can stabilize at some point soon. As for this evening, storms are coming. This is, as of right now, nothing like what we saw on Friday. However, and if any of you have been in the room with me before, you know however is part of my job. Mother Nature's gonna do what she's gonna do, right? So I ask that you be prepared. Thunderstorms are coming. There is a small possibility for tornadoes with this. Make sure you have what you need in your household, just in case your power does go out. If you have a few hours before this comes. If you have some tree limbs that are sort of hanging, if you can get those down before the storm comes, that's helpful. And then once the storm has cleared, if you find that you do have damage, please call 211 and report that so we know where the damage is. Thank you.
Thank you. So with the storms and the emergency response, we're starting to move into recovery. And in any type of storm setting, you're going to see people in the community or moving throughout the community who offer their services. We want to offer a warning that not everyone who comes to offer help has your best interest in mind, and we're asking that you be alert for scammers and those who would take advantage of people in a vulnerable time like this. So with us today is Chief Gregory, who can tell you a little bit about what to look for and how to report someone with suspicious activity. Chief?
Thank you, Dr. Page. I appreciate it. Just to reiterate one of the things that Michelle mentioned about 911 calls. City was overwhelmed with 911 calls on Friday night. We took a number of 911 calls just because they were overwhelmed. So we just want to make sure that people are only calling 911 when absolutely necessary. Don't call 911 to report a tree down or power outages or things of that sort. So that was the one big thing about 911. As Dr. Page said, unfortunately, at times like this, when people are at need because of the storm, there's still a lot of bad people out there. A lot of bad people come out there to try to take advantage of those that are in need. They know that they need repairs. They know that they need these repairs like right away. So they do everything they can to take advantage of them. I just want to throw out a few tips in reference to scammers. Ensure that the contractor that you're working with is licensed, bonded, and insured. You can check with the Better Business Bureau to make sure that they are that. Get any kind of reviews that you have on these businesses that you're doing business with. Get multiple estimates on any kind of work that's given to you for repairs. Be cautious of low and high prices. If it's very low, there's probably a reason why it's very low. Obtain contracts for the scope of work to be done. Don't pay anybody with cash. Don't pay them in advance for the work that's being done because you probably won't see them again if that be the case. And obtain contracts with people that you're working with. And again, I'll just emphasize, don't pay people in cash because if you do, they'll probably never come back to finish your work. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks. The Red Cross is a really important part of our emergency response. We work with them in a partnership. They help us with immediate needs for emergency shelter. They help us to get services for folks who need a place to stay or need help in the urgent needs of a storm. With us today is Latricia Cox, who is the Executive Director of the Red Cross. She's here to tell you a little bit about their role and the services they have to offer and how to get access to them.
Good afternoon. We've been working tirelessly around this area just to support all the residents of the storm. We're really trying to stay ahead of the weather that is coming, and so we have opened up a new shelter location, and that's in University City at Refresh Community Church on North Hanley Road. We really are trying to make sure that we're responding as appropriately as we can. As was mentioned before, we're here for the immediate needs of the community. And so while we're focusing on sheltering, we also are focusing on damage that will be assessed in the upcoming days. This is a larger scale storm, so it may take some time, but if there is damage to your home, we are really encouraging people to call 1-800-RED CROSS. We will send individuals out to do assessments of your property, and to those who are eligible for financial assistance, it will be available. And so if you, like I said, if anyone in the area, if you know, needs shelter, and please have them contact us, and we do have those available, and we're continuing to respond to the needs and by opening up new shelters as they come. Thank you.
Thank you, Latricia. So the last thing I'll say is that your elected leaders are working together to coordinate resources. The Emergency Operations Center works through all of the fire service and the police departments, all the first responders, to coordinate their efforts, but also to make sure that they're providing mutual aid and sending the resources to where they're needed the most. St. Louis County certainly had some significant damage with this storm, but the vast majority of that is in the city of St. Louis, and we are certainly providing resources there as well. I want to recognize and thank Governor Kehoe, who was on the ground immediately to help coordinate state services in the city of St. Louis, where we were the hardest hit in our region. And I want to recognize both of our United States senators, Eric Schmidt and Josh Hawley, who have been helping us coordinate the federal response and to make sure that FEMA is here to help us and to make sure that all of the folks who can provide services to us are there to do their part. I do want to recognize what Senator Hawley said today and thank him for his efforts to communicate with our insurance carriers that we expect a quick response to the to the claims from this storm. We know that there are some settings historically where some of those claims have been held up, and I thank Senator Hawley for his leadership to get in front of that. Everyone is calling our office and asking us how they can help. And so there's a couple of things I want to mention. First of all, our county website has the resources. It has the links of the web pages where you can go to learn the structured way to get involved in an area and to be helpful based on where the city is telling us that they need help in this moment. If you have friends or family in the city of St. Louis, or you know people in the city of St. Louis, and give them a hand. They can use your help. Be sure to wear protective gear, to wear gloves, to be careful, and as you're dragging remnants of structures to the curb and dragging leaves and limbs to the curbs, please keep them separated. It's really important to do this so we can send our limbs and our tree products in one direction, and we can send the other rubble in another direction. And I just want to recognize again everyone who stepped up. This is what St. Louis does. We come together to help our neighbors. We work together in a cooperative way. We know that our region has many political subdivisions, but we train for this. Our Emergency Operations Center trains for how to help each other. Our different police departments and fire services train on how to work together in a setting like this, and it really is a well-oiled machine, and you saw some of that in the emergency response. And now you're seeing the community come together to do what St. Louis does, and that is to help our neighbors who need a hand. And I would be glad to answer any questions.
How did your sirens work?
In St. Louis County?
Yes.
I'm not aware of any challenges with our sirens. I haven't heard that.
A question for the Red Cross director or yourself, Dr. Page. I guess what is it that the Red Cross is equipped to do, or you know, what is it that makes them good for this type of situation?
That's a great question for the Red Cross.
Yes, we respond to disaster. That is our specialty and what we do. We're good at mobilizing teams to be able to set up a shelter. And at our shelter locations, after a disaster, that's our immediate time to do that. We provide 3 meals a day to families that are in need. We also provide spiritual care and any mental health care. There are people that are figuratively and literally going through storms right now, and so we provide relief support, and so we're there to be as support to the community and to walk along with them with the process. Another specialty of ours is what we do is assess damage to properties. We did that during the storms that were in the spring, earlier in the spring in March, and we'll do that this time around too. And so, you know, we also work with, you know, the state at the marks, and, you know, we're there and we're present collaborating with other community organizations to make sure that the residents of this community and this metropolitan area are taken care of. And that's our specialty as an organization.
Thank you.
Would you like to highlight any of the particular areas where we saw the most damage, just, you know, to highlight those areas?
Well, the place where I saw the most damage is in Clayton, just bordering Forest Park, Clayton Road, north to Washoe, DeMond, and everything on the west side of Forest Park. There were 100-year-old trees that were knocked over, and you know, the housing stock there is pretty solid. But if you get a 100-year-old tree on your house, it's going to get your attention. Or a telephone pole with a transformer in your kitchen, that's going to be a problem. When we saw some of that in Clayton and Richmond Heights, but it was mostly around the Hanley 64 intersection, and then north into Forest Park, and then northeast through the city of St. Louis. Pretty wide swath.
Do you have a dollar estimate? I know the city is talking about 1.6 billion Do you have any sense of what kind of property loss we're talking about in the county?
No, I don't. We're still collecting that. We do ask that, that damage is reported to us so we can track it through our municipal partners. We keep track of that. It's important for us as we get our FEMA designation and we're eligible for relief. But I don't have any number on the damage in St. Louis County. It's really early for that to have any sort of idea.
We'll actually know more Wednesday. FEMA let me know when I was on my way here that they'll have assessors here on Wednesday.
So you probably couldn't hear Michelle. I'll
Sorry,
repeat that for the
thank you.
microphones. Wednesday we'll know more about the amount of damage in St. Louis County, and we'll spend the next couple of weeks tallying that up, I'm sure.
This might be for emergency management, but are you concerned about all this debris and all these things becoming kind of projectiles during our maybe high winds
course.
this evening?
Yeah, absolutely, which is why I mentioned, if you have dangling tree branches, if you can deal with that before this rolls in. The packet that I saw, the most recent one from the National Weather Service, did mention high winds. So loose debris is always going to be an issue.
Is there any information about, like, if people wanted to take some of this stuff somewhere, is there like, is the dump open later, or what, is there a place where they can do that yet?
Yeah, that's a great question, Michelle.
We don't have a centralized location at this point. We don't have a centralized location set up at this point. Honestly, when I drove through on my way here, a lot of people still have, it's just still in their yards. It doesn't look like it's even been moved to the curb, but they're dealing with an awful lot, right? That's probably the last thing on their mind right now. We don't have a centralized location at this point. They can call their trash service. Obviously, these storms are supposed to roll in about an hour and a half. My suggestion is secure what you can, even if it means throwing it in your garage and closing the door, and it keeps it from becoming a projectile.
Thank you.
Last thing for me, Dr. Page, you talked about sharing resources with the city. Building inspectors, I think, are going to be hard to come by in this near term. Is there any sort of way that the county can share those kinds of resources, or is that a east-west gateway sort of thing, or how do you see that potentially happening?
Well, the building inspectors that do the routine work of government are different than the building inspectors that come through from FEMA and the state emergency management to document the damage. They certainly could do that, and we can talk about that, but we'll share resources whenever we can. But there's usually a pretty extensive crew with a lot of people that come in to assess the building damage. It's a different, really a different skill set than folks that check for whether or not somebody meets code.
Hi, Dr. Page. Lucretia Whitley from St. Louis Public Radio. Forgive me for trickling in late a little bit here, so if you already touched on this, but do you guys have a sense of like how many people are without power still at this point? I know that you guys, we can ask Amory that, but just.
Michelle might know. I heard 30,000 still. Michelle, do you know?
That's probably the last number I saw, and I believe it was this morning. I did not
Yeah.
look later.
The challenge we have in this particular storm is that there's a lot of singles that are out of power to a house, and not just a big line that got hit with ice or wind. And just the extent of this damage as it swept through Clayton and all the way up to the northeast corner of the city, those are a lot of single instances where you have to restore power, and that's a lot of work. Okay, thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good job, Pete.
Oh, yeah.